Hey guys, it's your boy Teddy J, and I'm here with a very special interview. We're talking about model, entrepreneur, media host, the one and only Qveen.
What's up?
What's going on,
How
Qveen?
are you?
How you been?
I've been great.
All right, you look good. No long time.
You. I mean, you tried to outshine me today.
You know, a little
I'm
something.
talking about the jacket. You know,
It's
I
a little
came up
chilly
with
outside today.
Well, I mean,
So Qveen, speaking of Qveen, we want to know how'd you get that name? I'm sure all the
oh
viewers
my
want to know
God.
about that name, Qveen.
Oh, okay. All right. So I got the name Queen because a lot of people don't know I started off as a rapper.
Oh,
And it was actually Queen Nisha, which my real name is Denisha.
okay.
So it was Queen Nisha when I used to perform. Um, and I have a crazy story because back in middle school, I started rapping and I had a talent show. And at the talent show, this boy, he was a rapper as well. And his mom was a stripper. So she was there and she saw me performing. And, you know, she asked my grandma at the time, she was like, oh, I'd like to take her under my wing. I want to show her. Obviously, my grandma had no idea what this lady was. I found out when I used to go to her house what she did. And she was, you know, kind of like molding me, just showing me the game. And she introduced me a lot to the music industry scene because I started there first.
Gotcha.
And I was very shy. Like I was someone I didn't really speak that much. And at that time, I was like, what, 5'8", 5'9"? So being 12, 13 with that type of height, I was already tall.
Yeah.
So she was like, every time you step in the room, you need to always remember that you're a queen.
Gotcha.
And I liked the name. And she was just like, okay, that's what we're going to call you. I said, what? She was like, Queen Nisha. So that's how that came about.
Okay. So you said 5'8", 5'9".
Mhm.
Did you stop there? What's your actual height now?
So right now I'm 6 feet.
Wow.
And I'm 6'3" in heels, but I'm 6 feet tall, period.
Wow. I'm sure everybody was looking up to you, looking up to the queen. And speaking of looking up to you, we see you're already 6 foot.
Mm-hmm.
Your afro brings you to about...
The afro adds more of the inches.
Yeah.
Probably like 6'4".
Yeah.
You're doing like 6'4", 6'5".
So that's your real hair kinked up into the afro?
You know, we're going to talk about that a little later.
Okay. So diving into your life,
Mhm.
right? What made you leave a career in the government to transition over to this career in media?
I was fired.
Wow.
Like, no bullshit. Like, I got fired. So,
What happened? If you don't mind.
I just feel like I was always that rebellious person. And there were times where I saw in government that you had to be structured. And I went to school for media. So I went to school for broadcasting. And I was a PA specialist. I was working for the city of Miami Gardens. And everything was just so structured. So I was very unhappy at what it is that I was doing. Yes, I was writing, you know, the mayor stuff and doing the flyers, but I just realized that government wasn't really for me. So I just started doing dumb shit. Like I'll show up late, I'll do this. Like I kind of felt like I was the celebrity of the show. But the thing is that government taught me structure.
Yeah, it'll do.
And even though I was that rebellious person at that time, now I regret it because now I'm like, I wish I would have handled things a lot differently. So being fired led me to who I am now. So I'm thankful for that transition. However, it gave me a lot of structure. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of learned. It was a learning experience.
It was a learning experience. Like, you know, it was a lot of young people, kind of, sort of, but most of the people that I was working with were older and they was hating on me. Like I used to come in with my little heels on, little skirt, and they used to be like, no, baby, we don't do that here. So I just felt very out of place.
Gotcha.
And it was kind of like dimming my light. And that was an issue for me. And I really felt like I didn't fit in there.
Gotcha. And you did go to an HBCU. You went to Florida Memorial.
Yeah.
How did that experience help you become like a better content creator or help you in that field of content creation?
So, you know, I always tell people like the HBCU experience is just an experience within itself. I love my HBCU. It's ghetto. I love Flomo, but we was something else growing up. So for me, I would say my experience being there was life-changing. because I found out who I was as I was being there. Like I pledged AKA, I've done, a lot of people don't even know I'm in a sorority. And being there, I felt like I was at my most challenged. Like there were days where we were broke. There were days where we had money, we had refund checks, we had all these different, aspects of life, relationships, getting broken up with about 5 times, 5 different boyfriends in 3 to 5 year span. So going through all of that in the midst of, a pandemic, because I was in school around the time of the pandemic. And I will honestly like to say that my HBCU really molded me to who I am because of the cultural differences that I saw at that time being at that school.
Would you say you enjoyed that time?
I would say that time was the most fun part of my life, but also the hardest part of my life because there was a lot of challenges that I had to overcome within myself.
Got you.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of exes, you're talking about relationships. What's your wildest story or breakup story that you had with an ex?
Okay, so this is not really a breakup story, but I'm trying to think. So it's not really a breakup story. However, I was a little crazy back in the day. I mean, I still got a little something in me, back in the day.
No more.
She comes out when need be. So, the dude at the time that I was seeing, he basically was telling me that he was at work. And for some reason, I have this thing called women's intuition. Yeah, I feel like every woman has that, right? So he was telling me that he was at work. At the time, he was a studio producer. And he was telling me that he was at work. He was at the studio. He was hanging out. So I'm like, something not right. I don't understand why you're not answering your phone. I'm texting you. Because usually when he's at the studio, he'll still text me. He might not call me, but he'll still text me. And I noticed that day, it was just weird.
Nothing. Yeah.
So I'm like, this nigga got me fucked up. So it was like my spidey senses was tingling. That shit was tingling. So literally, I drove in my car.
Okay.
And I knew where he stayed at. Yeah. And something told me, well, first before I pulled up to his house, I pulled up to the studio. So I'm riding around to see if I see his car in the parking lot at the studio. I pull up, I'm riding around, I don't see it. Yeah. So now I'm like, this nigga got me. So I drive to his luxury apartment at the time, and you had to have a key box to get in. It was some type of code. Mm-hmm. And I waited for the person to drive in, and then I drove it behind the person. So I start driving to see if I see his car, and then I saw his car. Okay. So now I'm like, this nigga got me fucked up. So then I called him, and I'm like, seeing if he's going to answer. He does not answer. So then,
sleep.
That man was not asleep. That man, he was not asleep. So then, again, I just felt like something was not right. Something was not right. So I decided to take a picture of his tag to his car. And I said, oh, see, this the games you play. You lying to me, saying that you at work and da-da-da-da. And I'm sitting here watching your car. So then I look up to his apartment because I can literally see his apartment right there. And I could literally see somebody walking between the lights and everything. So he looked through the blinds to see if he saw me, and my car was parked right there. So he comes outside and he's like, you're a stalker. Why are you stalking me? All this shit like that. So I was just like, cause nigga, you lied. You ain't even. So then we got into it. And then years later, now that we're friends, we laugh about that story. But he literally told me, he was like, Qveen, you're legit a stalker. And I
yeah, it's a little stalkerish.
Yeah, I mean, he lied. The problem is y'all not focusing on the fact that he lied. Period. He was not where he said he was. So I was right at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, maybe that particular day he just wanted a break. He just wanted to stay home and didn't want to know, you know what I mean? So that wasn't too bad.
I was kind of upset because I was trying to see if I was going to catch a female in there. I ended up going upstairs and I didn't see nothing. This nigga was playing Fortnite.
See?
So
let's talk about the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the industry, media, modeling, what's the most difficult thing you had to encounter, getting into that field?
I would say overcoming my insecurities, because growing up, I always felt like I wasn't pretty enough. I always felt like my height was really a challenge. So my insecurities was the biggest part for me. And then also, obviously, once I got over my personal insecurities, I still had to deal with the industry within itself.
Got you.
And there were some challenges, being a Black model or being that person that wants to wear afros on the runway and have that big personality. It became difficult to try to see, okay, where do I fit in this space? I'm not a petite model. I'm not skinny, I'm not skinny and I have a lot of curves. So there were some times where I didn't get casted for something. And then I have a lot of model friends who did get casted for something who might be smaller than me. So for me, it was always trying to figure out, where do I fit in this industry? And though I was hurt, I had to always remain like, what's for you is for you.
Yes.
And the biggest challenge, even right now to this day, is not being a person who compares herself to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because the truth is, some people, it works for them, but what works for them does not work for you. So that the thief of comparison was a real problem for me. Even to this day, I have my moments where I'm just like, okay, well, I sat and watched this person. We started around the same time and I'm watching her get 50,000 followers and I'm growing my page, piece by piece. But then I always think about it is this my time yet?
Yeah.
When is it going to be my time? But that goes back to, overcoming that comparison part.
Right. Got you. And being a faith-based woman, a Christian, how have you balanced Christian lifestyle, faith-based lifestyle with the fast-paced modeling lifestyle and the differences that occur between those two?
I would say it's not easy being so open about Christianity, especially in modeling, because there's times where I have this thing where before I get on the runway, I pray. I don't do a whole scene, but I literally will just be like, okay, please don't let me fall, God. You got me, God. All this stuff. And then people will look around and be like, what is she doing? And I realized that in the modeling industry, a lot of people are not as spiritual. I started when I was 16 years old. So being in the modeling industry at 16, you might be seeing some girls doing drugs, or you might be seeing, men around you trying to, persuade you to do certain things. So it was always a challenge for me. And then also too, there's times where I think to myself and I'm posting on Instagram. I know that right now I have about 18K or whatever. And when I started growing my following was when I started going viral for a lot of my swimwear. So I noticed that I got a lot of male followers.
Yeah.
And when I would try to post something with clothes on, no likes. But when I would post something with my titties out and, the booty out, that's when it was I got the most engagement. So I found challenges with that because obviously I don't want to lead a man to sin.
Yeah.
And I obviously know, since I went viral for a lot of swimwear stuff, that people want to book me for swimwear. So it becomes a challenge because, as Christians, they have this, we have this thing about overexposing ourselves.
Yeah.
So I always felt okay, that's a real challenge for me because I don't want to be overly sexy. I don't want to be overly exposed. So for me, it's where do I find the balance between the two? And there are times where I pray and I'm asking God, but I always tell people modeling was never the end goal. This was to open doors for me to do other things.
Gotcha.
Obviously with hosting and things like that, some of the things that I do, but it was never really an end goal. So, there's times where I pray to God and I asked him, what is my path? Where do you see this going? What is the plan or what is the goal for me? So, just try not to do too much.
So the women who are following you, who have those questions, wondering how is that you do it, what message do you have for the women who follow you?
Right now, comparison, consistency.
Okay.
Because in this game, you are going to be challenged a lot. And you're going to be challenged in the sense of you're going to get a lot of no's, period. There were times where I got no's for times where I wanted yeses, and times where I wanted certain shows, or times where I wanted to be in certain rooms, and you're going to get a lot of no's, and you cannot allow those no's to dictate who you are and allowing that to change the trajectory of your life. Because there are some women that will come into this game, they get a no, and then they just stop.
Mm-hmm.
And you should never do that. You should never allow what somebody thinks of you to change how you think of yourself and how you see yourself.
Definitely.
So that is one of the biggest things that I would tell women right now. Fuck what them people got to say. Keep going, because at the end of the day, nobody can tell your story better than you, and nobody's going to walk that path better than you in your journey. So
that's real. So how has modeling, content creation, hosting, how does that change? How has it changed the way that you express yourself and see yourself?
In the beginning, I felt like I was trying to do what everybody else was doing. And that goes back to comparison. And the modeling world in general has changed, period. Like, I feel like now you can't just be a model. You can't just be that cute girl anymore that walks a runway and then people want to get to know you. Now you have to have a personality. You have to become that influencer. So with that being said, I've noticed that I've been showing a lot more of my personality and who I am. Just going back to what I said earlier, like, fuck y'all. I'm going to walk this runway with my ass cheeks showing and y'all going to love it. Like, I'm going to do this, and showing your personality is what makes people want to engage with you a lot more. Like, the modeling industry is different now. I appreciate it so much because now we have more curvy women. We have women who are bold as hell that wear big hair like me. We have so many different things, and just being that person to show your personality is the biggest part.
Got you. So what made you start a foundation for incarcerated women? How did you get into that? What gave you the idea?
My mother was incarcerated when I was a child, and she's had a troubled past as far as being in and out of prison, and me and my sisters being primarily raised within foster care or with our grandparents. I realized how much of a struggle that was. And even to this day, I realized how much of a challenge that it was for me to overcome that struggle with my mom. There were times where I would see other girls having their moms at soccer games. And then when I would think about my mother, it's like, oh, I have to talk to my mom through a phone or through a cell. And I also saw how challenging it was for when my mom did get out of prison, how challenging it was for her to find a job.
Yes.
People won't hire you, or people feel like your past dictates your future. So I saw how those challenges of her not finding a job led her back to doing more crimes. So the foundation, honestly, is to help people who have been incarcerated to find their path, whether that's finding them funding as far as like housing, because housing is a big part. Finding jobs or scholarships for women or, who might have had incarcerated parents, because a lot of people don't know when you have parents who are incarcerated, it makes it a challenge for you to go to school. And it was a challenge for me to go to school because I couldn't file as a dependent. I had to file as an independent. So, just making sure that we're not left out too, because people don't understand that the mistakes that your parents make, it shouldn't impact you. But at the same time, it does, because people forget that these are someone's babies. Like, these are someone's sisters, brothers, and cousins, and aunties, uncles that are still left out, that have to carry the burden of their main significant person not being there with them. So
saying that, what's your proudest moment as a creator? What has been your proudest moment?
My proudest moment.
Yeah.
I would say my interview with Cash Doll. She was a sweetheart. She gave me the game. I did something with her with the Danza Project, and I came in as a co-host to help him co-host that interview. And Cash Doll was a sweetheart. She gave me the game. She told me, girl, you got this. We had our conversation about being a dark-skinned woman in the industry, as well as it has its challenges. There's some times where, we might get overlooked. So before, I was someone that was kind of shallow about that. I used to think that, it's not really a real thing. And, I asked her the question. I said, Do you feel like your career had challenges because of the fact that you were a dark-skinned woman? And the fact that she was so honest and transparent and open about that, about the fact that, yes, Qveen, this is very much real. Like, we still to this day are dealing with the challenges. The fact that she was so open to tell me the truth and still wanting to pour into me, like even from the side, you know, just the exchange and the love, seeing how I've met a lot of celebrities in the game. I've met some people, but seeing how people are still real and authentic and not allowing the lights and the shine to dictate who they are, that was a big moment for me.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could go back in time and tell your younger self, give her advice, what would you tell your younger self?
To let it go.
Let it go.
All the pain that you have experienced as a child, all the anger, all the hatred, let it go and don't let it dictate the trajectory of your life.
Gotcha.
Because it was always a challenge trying to overcome emotion. Like, I was that person. I was very emotional growing up. I was so emotional. And I used to let a lot of my emotions dictate my decision making, which led me to difficulties. So honestly, just let it go. Like, I wish I can talk to the younger me and just give her ass a big ass hug. Like, girl, you gonna be okay. Yeah. That is what I really want to let people know and understand. Whatever burdens that you have right now, whatever life is dealing you, you will overcome it. Like, I have this tattoo right here. It's "This too shall pass."
This too shall pass.
It's gonna pass.
Gotcha.
Period.
And what's one thing about you that people may not know, but it might shock them, it might surprise them?
This ain't my real hair, y'all. It's not my real hair. It's not. It look real, but listen, I want people to understand that I am going to continue to represent the girls who do have hair like this, because there are women who have curly, voluptuous hair. And I'm someone, I want to showcase that as much as I can on the runway, to be a representation of the ones who do have it, and to break barriers, because a lot of girls don't get casted because of their hair. There's people backstage, they don't know how to do a fucking afro. It's so much. Yeah. So being that representation for girls who do have it, that is, it ain't my hair, y'all, but you know.
I mean, it looks good.
I bought it, bitch.
Yeah, it looks nice.
I bought it, so it's mine. Period. Yes.
And if you could describe yourself in 3 words, how would you describe yourself?
The first word is dynamic.
Dynamic.
I have a very, very dynamic personality. The second one is giver, because I give a lot of who I am to people, even people that don't deserve it. I still believe in giving.
Gotcha.
And the last one is hope.
Hope.
Because I am a true believer in, obviously with who I am, of overcoming. So if someone was to give me those titles, dynamic, giver, and hope.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. And being in Miami, living in Miami, what's your favorite spot to go just hang out, relax, vibe? Let the people know they might want to come hang out with you.
Yeah, y'all want to come to Club 24? I'm just like, Club 24, I have my little party days. But right now, I would say, because I didn't grow up in Miami. I grew up originally in Orlando. So the beach is always it for me. Like, I'm somebody I like to take. I'm not talking about South Beach. Leave that shit to the tourists. I'm talking about more so just going to the beach and just chilling. Nikki Beach. You ever been to Nikki Beach?
Nikki Beach? No. Yeah. I've been to Virginia Key.
You want to go to Nikki Beach?
Yeah, we can always go to the beach. We definitely hang out over there.
So the beach, I like to see the sand and the water and just relax and chill, listen to some music.
That's a dope vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So we know you're all about modeling. Mm-hmm. You're doing media. If you weren't doing those things here in Florida, what could you see yourself doing?
My friend actually told me this the other day. I think I would be a therapist.
Therapist?
Yeah.
You like talking to people?
I like talking. I think I talk too damn much. But I would be a therapist, because understanding, just trying to see the growth in people
Gotcha.
I love to see people change, especially for the better. So I feel like I think I'd be a therapist.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so whoever needs any advice, they can already start reaching out to you.
Oh
Are you
my
ready to
God.
listen and you ready to give some good advice?
Yeah, obviously. For
Okay.
sure.
And being we're in December now, the
Mhm.
year's basically over.
Mhm.
What's up next for Qveen 2025? What do you see yourself doing? What's your aspirations? And what are your goals?
Right now, a huge goal for me, the modeling doors are opening. They're opening the way that they need to because it's been 7 years. I've been doing this for so long, y'all. Like, I'm tired. So the doors are opening, but right now I do want to give my full undivided attention to the young ladies that I feel like need me right now as far as podcasting, because I do have a women's mental health podcast. So we talk about mental health in a fun way. So just being that inspiration of girls who have had a troubled past or girls that are trying to get through a lot of their trauma, I feel like I want to more so lean into that in this next 2025. We still gonna do the modeling, we still gonna do the hosting, but I think God is calling me to do some things bigger than just walking a stage.
Yeah, we seen you've been doing a little acting, man. What about
Eh?
acting? We gonna get into that?
Y'all gonna see me do some acting. Actually, y'all gonna see me do some acting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got some stuff coming together. You know, we got a film coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's dope.
we gonna do some razzle dazzle.
Nice.
Yeah.
So everybody who wants to know a little bit more about you, go on and tell them how can they find you.
Y'all see that little big old thing right there? I was playing. So find me on Instagram at It's Official Qveen, and that's Queen with a V because I am victorious. Please make sure y'all follow me. I do follow back sometimes if you ain't got all that ratchetness on there. But
Nice. And it was a great interview.
Awesome.
Once again, it's Teddy J here with the beautiful Qveen. You heard her story. Like, comment, check it out, and hit her up. We'll see you in 2025. Later, guys.